So my parents actually brought me to the temple when I was very young, and as far as I've been told by them, I've been coming here all my life. But it's interesting that I could come to the temple, I could see the deities, I could have prasada. I never really felt like I connected with the Hare Krishna movement. It was just a kind of nice place to be. I suppose ever since I was kind of young, I liked the idea of being kind of a spiritual or holy person. So I was always attracted to coming to temples, but the thing about this temple that really intrigued me was, number one, the kirtan. I think a lot of people say that. There was something special about the way that the chanting happened here. It's enthusiastic. If you go to most other kind of temples, chanting happens but doesn't have the same sort of energy. So that was something that really attracted me. And of course the prasada. So that kept me here initially. In terms of what happened after that is I started to get involved in just doing some simple services here. My first kind of major service I started doing was for Janmashtami, and ironically my first Janmashtami service was actually to be in the car park in the fields with Prayojana people, and we used to hand out sweets to people that left. So my first few Janmashtamis I didn't even see much of the festival, but I just spent time with them in the car park giving out sweets. So I kind of drifted like that for a little while until I came in contact with the Bandhavasena, and this was when I was around 1920. And it's an interesting story, but I was initially told to keep away from them, that they were kind of strange people, but they somehow got their hook on me, and I got in touch with two devotees who I honestly owe a lot to, and that's Sanatan Krishna Prabhu and Devashri Prabhu. So it was really interesting. They played a kind of good cop, bad cop thing on me, and they slowly kind of brought me in closer to Krishna consciousness, and they both are completely crazy, absolutely nuts, and that crazy enthusiasm kept me coming back for more. And I think the thing that intrigued me about seeing the Bandhavasena as a group is they were young people like me doing spiritual activity. It wasn't just for old people, but they made it so fun and so dynamic and so interesting. It wasn't just a practice, it was part of their lifestyle. So I think I really connected with Krishna consciousness when I went on my first Bandhavasena trip. That was in 2003. That was in Prabhupada, I believe, in Italy. And on that trip I met His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj, who I'm very lucky would then become a spiritual master later on. His Holiness Bhakti Devamrita Maharaj and Urmila Mataji. And it was literally, I don't want to sound like a cliche, but it was a life-changing trip. I remember coming back from that trip and feeling so enthused, I almost literally couldn't stop chanting. I would take a bus to come into work to Harrow at the time. And I chanted literally 19 rounds non-stop on the bus to the minute I walked into Debenhams in Harrow where I used to work. And I remember getting behind the counter and feeling so depressed that I was now stuck in this place. And I literally wanted the experience of being on that trip forever. I wanted to be around those devotees. I wanted to experience that again, that, you know, I'd sneak into the staff room and ring someone and, hey, do you want to be out for lunch? Do you want to do something? But it became kind of, if you will, addictive at that point. Before I became a devotee, I mean, luckily, because my parents brought me here since I was quite young, there was always some connection. But if you want to know the skeletons in my closet, by all means. I used to be a drum and bass MC. I always had a big musical history. So I used to be in clubs, on a microphone, while a DJ was doing his thing. And I, from there, went to playing bass guitar. And I started learning to play, for example, things like Metallica, Pantera, Slayer. I hate to admit this, but I got into Slipknot, I got into Limp Bizkit. So I had this kind of real kind of angsty teenager thing, and then this much younger kind of MC thing. Lucky I'm here now. So I took initiation in 2008, ironically on a Bandhavasena trip in Italy from His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj. So it was almost like that came kind of full circle, which was really nice. Gurudev has been a profound influence on my life, and the thing that I remember about him most vividly was the fact that he was able to take this high spiritual philosophy and make it immediately applicable. They often say that there are many teachers who teach, for example, maths, but depending on the nature and character of a particular teacher, you connect with them. So I found that with His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj, that he was able to explain things in a way that was crystal clear to me. Even now to the point where I might send him like 2 or 3 pages worth of an email with the questions, and he can answer the entire thing in a few sentences. Just because I feel like there's a real power in the way that he can explain things specifically for my condition in my ears, so to speak. On the first Bandhavasena trip where I met him, He was even referencing things like the Matrix as a way to explain Krishna consciousness, and that really surprised me. So, what initiation means to me is a really interesting question. There's so many things. I like something Kripamoya Prabhu said. I think for me this helped me understand initiation a lot more. He talked about his own initiation, and he said that he stopped being somebody on the outside looking in and became somebody on the inside looking out. So I think initiation for me meant that I no longer could sit on the fence and look at the Hare Krishna movement and think, oh, this was something really nice that I wanted to be part of. I was now inside that, looking out on the rest of the world and letting that Krishna consciousness be my viewpoint, letting that be how I now see the outside world. It means responsibility to me, because obviously as an initiated devotee, you don't want to let your Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada down. So that means we need to be more mindful of our actions. But I hate to coin the phrase, but with great power comes great responsibility. So there's a lot of spiritual power to that too. You're able to help people, you're able to bring the holy name to people, you're able to bring Srila Prabhupada's books to people. So I think my initiation in one sense has helped me to redefine my identity. I'm in one sense no longer this person I was before coming into Krishna consciousness. By Gurudev's mercy, I'm now this different person. And this different person is able to function much better in this material world and have a much stronger understanding of what this world can do to people and how you can help people in this world. So initiation to me means responsibility, but it also means opportunity. Being able to do so much for Srila Prabhupada's movement. So the first service I really got stuck into was actually the sharing place here at the Manor. I have a little bit of a martial arts background, and so the devotees were really kind to engage that in Krishna service. And so what I used to do was to help coordinate the fight scenes and help some of the boys just with some really basic stunt training so they wouldn't hurt themselves on stage. And somehow or another I went from doing that to playing Ravan. And I was lucky to play Ravan for many years as part of that play. It was really nice. I love drama. I think it's such an expressive way of presenting Krishna consciousness. So for a long while I just got involved in that particular drama and just trying to refine it and get into it and understand a lot more as to how you can use drama for preaching. I always looked at the acting side of it, and I was very lucky to work with a wonderful script writer and another drama enthusiast, Vrinda Kumari Mataji, who kind of in one sense helped me understand what spiritual drama really is and how to engage that same acting nature in Krishna service. From there, in terms of services, I got into teaching. I'm a teacher by trade at college and university. And that actually came about because of Krishna consciousness. I was doing the retail thing for a while, getting bored of it, and I didn't really know what I want to do. So as part of a mentee group under a devotee named Dina Krishna Prabhu, we would meet up in Harrow every week and he would teach us Krishna consciousness, basic Krishna consciousness. And every once in a while he would ask us to lead a part of the session. So we would do a little preparation, we would speak. And he mentioned to me, he said, actually you're not bad at this talking thing. Why have you ever thought about teaching? And I never had done it until that point. So I pursued it. By Krishna's mercy, it's turned into something quite fruitive. So now most of the services I do revolve around that point. I look after a Sangha in West London, which happens every month. I used to live in West London, I live in Watford now, and that Sangha's been going on for many, many years. And so we just meet every month and we read the Bhagavad Gita and we discuss that. And I've also been lucky to be part of the Krishna Conscious Society at Brunel University, where we've been doing preaching programs, mantra meditation programs as well. And it's been nice because it's kind of familiar territory being in a university, but at the same time, it's really nice to present Krishna consciousness to that forum and in that environment. So I really feel like teaching is something I want to pursue more for my Krishna consciousness. I used to do some teaching at the Manor as part of their VTE, Vaishnava Training and Education courses. We've done 1 or 2 programs at the temple in regards to training people to be teachers. And I was lucky for a short while to be part of the welcoming service here on a Sunday, where devotees would meet up with new people, answer any questions that they have, and take them from a tour of the temple and give them some prasad. So I like the kind of whole communication aspect. In terms of what I want to do ultimately for my service, if Krishna allows me to, one would be to help train devotees to be better at those speaking skills, communication skills, and teaching skills. I feel like most devotees have a really strong understanding of the philosophy and the Shastra, but it's just the ability to communicate that in a professional way, in a structured way. So that's one thing I'd like to do. But my real dream is to have Krishna consciousness accepted by the academic community. I have this really weird vision in my mind of walking into a prestigious university dressed in a dhoti and tilak, with students in front of me and say, okay class, I want you to open your Bhagavad Gitas now to chapter 10 verse 5, we're going to be looking at this today. I'd love the Bhagavad Gita and Srila Prabhupada's books to have that standing, where in an academic environment people will come to study these books and treat them with the same respect that they do any other academic literature. So I'm hoping to kind of be a teacher preacher if Krishna allows me to. That's my main focus. So what keeps me being a devotee? Well, I think the easy answer to that question is because the material world makes zero sense. It's very easy to be Krishna conscious when you see what the alternative is. That's the way I like to think about it. The thing is, practicing devotional life for me, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, doing service, etc., is just so much fun. And I can honestly say from the core of my heart, I've never had this much fun doing something like this before. And at the same time, it's so incredibly uplifting. The taste of the pudding is only in the eating. And it's really hard to kind of describe sometimes why it's so nice, but it is. And I think the thing for me that I really enjoy is that the more you get into it, the more you read, the more you try to deepen your relationship with Krishna, actually the more you experience. So for me, it's a very tangible thing. So what keeps me going is the fact that I know that I'm almost diving into this, this bottomless pit of happiness, and there will never be an end. And so I like the fact that I can keep going, and it's always ever fresh, as Srila Prabhupada said, and I genuinely think that's the case. Just when I think I've got an understanding of something, or just when I think I've understood a particular service, a particular mood, it becomes deeper, and then there's more for me to learn. So I find that really inspiring, and like I said, it's so much nicer compared to anything else you could be doing. In terms of my, I hasten to say, realizations or thoughts, I don't think I can pin it on any one or two things. I think for me, simply, it's the fact that Krishna consciousness works. It's not an idea, it's not simply a belief, it is something that anyone can just pick up, practice, and see for themselves. If anything, I would probably say that I've experienced Krishna through his devotees. So for me, the devotees and seeing how they act is probably my biggest realization, that by seeing the devotees' actions, I'm seeing kind of Krishna at work in one respect. I've seen that applying the philosophy of Srila Prabhupada's books work, and that's always been something that's kept me going. And probably the most profound realization is that Paneer is absolutely amazing. So if I could go back in time, well, I think it's the same advice a lot of people would give, which is essentially get stuck in and don't waste time. And it's really interesting because as a youngster you tend to think that there's so many other better options. And I wish I could go back and say that to my younger self, that just do this, it's so worth it. But I think realistically the other thing I would tell myself is to really go deep and savor every moment. Sometimes we try to move so quickly in our spiritual life that we don't take a chance to appreciate the journey. And I'm thankful, at least in my young Krishna conscious life, I never in one sense felt pressured to do anything, but I really wish I made the most of it. I really wish that I absorbed myself more in what was happening. I can look back now and I can see there were so many opportunities to do so many incredible things and meet so many incredible people that I just walk past that. I'll give you one example. So one Janmashtami many moons ago, I was helping to do the decorations inside the temple room when people come in for the queuing system. So they see some nice dioramas, different models as they come to see Lord Krishna on Janmashtami. And I went into the pantry just to wash my hands. And Sridhar Maharaj was there. And I had no idea who he was. I managed to see the back of his dhoti and clock onto the back he was a sannyasi. So I just said, Hare Krsna Maharaj, and I didn't really say much more to him at all. And it was only later on did I realize actually what an exalted Vaishnava he was. And ironically, he started more of the conversation with me, and we ironically talked about IT, which is my other interest. And so I look back on that now and I feel really stupid that I had a chance to be with not just him, but many other saintly people and not take advantage of the opportunity. So if I went back to my younger self, I would tell him to not waste time, to dive deep, to enjoy the journey, and to make the most of every opportunity. So, favourite form, that's a tough one. I remember my Guru Maharaj told me, actually he mentioned in the class many years ago, he said that it's best to just kind of worship all the forms of Krishna rather than pick out favourites, because all of his forms are merciful. It's not like we're in a position where we can say, this is mine or the other. But if I had to answer the question, I would probably say Lord Nishingadev, just because he's so cool, you know. It's interesting when you kind of think about what our conception of God is and how you visualise that Supreme Person. And to know it's this ferocious, powerful entity with unlimited hands and unlimited weapons and so fierce and is willing to do so much to protect his devotee, that's really inspiring. I'm very lucky for the last few years we've been going to Germany, my wife and I, to Simhachalam to worship Shishipala Nishingadev here. And it is just such a spectacular form. It's so beautiful to see. And I think probably kind of the boy in me, the martial artist in me, kind of connects to that sense of strength and ferocity and protection in seeing Lord Nishingadev. My favourite pastime, I would say actually for me it's the Bhagavad Gita. Just the simple fact of Krishna explaining this philosophy to Arjuna, and that's captivated me for literally my entire Krishna consciousness, just because it blew my mind that the Supreme Lord would be the one to explain things to Arjuna, be his chariot driver, answer any questions that he had, almost taking the kind of parental role and, almost being in a kind of a lower role in one sense. Especially at the end when he says to Arjuna, I've told you everything you need to know now, you can do what you like. It's so attractive. Probably the things that really shook me when I first read the Bhagavad Gita was very early on when Krishna is talking about duty to Arjuna. He says, even I have to perform my duty. Even I have to perform my activities. So it was really heartfelt. It's almost like Arjuna is having like a heart-to-heart conversation with God, literally. And that was such an attractive way to see Krishna, to see the Supreme Person. So my favourite pastime is literally the Bhagavad Gita.